Hello there. I'm B from B's Intuition, but this is my second channel, B's Spirituality. It's been a long time since I've uploaded on this channel, and I just felt really compelled to do it today because it's interesting. The last video that I made for this channel, I believe, was the one I made in the fall, where things chaotic were happening, um, a lot of changes and stuff, and then I've been feeling like I've been in kind of like this limbo, like in my life. But the thing about that is, I felt like the only time that I would want to come back to this channel to like have another video here was really like I was putting the restriction in my mind of like only coming back if I have something positive to share about like updates to my life or, you know, and that's kind of what I want to base this talk around. My TED talk. No. Pretty much talking about being perceived as not perfect, maybe, or being perceived as not being where you want to be yet, or feeling like who you are now is not enough. Something like that. I just feel like it's interesting because it's like, why do I put these restrictions on myself? And I don't think it was fully conscious. I think there was a bit of consciousness to it, but not entirely. And so I think a lot of the time it could actually take place on a subconscious level where we feel like we are not ready to be seen, or we're not like we're not ready to be perceived by people because maybe there's a certain image that we would like them to associate with us. And so until we perfectly fit that role or whatever, that image, we feel like we are not enough, or we feel like who we are now is not enough, or that we are inherently lacking in some way, or something like that. And I just find that so interesting that that's where I was kind of putting myself. But also, if you think about the impact that that would have on your mental health, you know, even if you don't frame it in that way of like, I feel like I'm unprepared to be seen, or I'm prepared to be perceived by other people. It's just very restricting, isn't it? And it really diminishes your inherent value as a human being. And you know, a lot of people say, and I actually do believe, that we treat ourselves like unfinished projects that constantly need to be worked on, constantly need to be improved and perfected. When in reality, why aren't we just enough as is? Why do we have to put so many pressures on ourselves to be a certain way or to be perceived a certain way? And I felt compelled to talk about this because I feel like maybe there's somebody out there that is also going through something similar. And, you know, this may even apply to somebody out there who maybe is considering doing their own YouTube channel, perhaps. But they're like, well, I'm not, you know, down to my goal weight yet, or um, my skin is breaking out really badly and I'm afraid for people to see that. Stuff like that. But then also deeper stuff like, I'm not successful enough yet, or I'm not, yeah, I'm not like at my goals yet. So that means I'm like, me now is not enough. And I have to wait for me to embody this future hypothetical position or persona. And that's just depriving ourselves of experiences of connection, because that's a whole nother thing too. Actually, I do want to talk about that. I think I'm going to talk about, ooh, sorry, I just reposition them. But so I personally struggle with a lot of mental health struggles, but then I've mentioned them before in previous videos on this channel. So, um, but one of the things that I have been sort of plagued by, to put it in a very dramatic way, so skin picking. So at my roots, I am a perfectionist. But the thing is, I'd like to believe that I'm at least conscious enough now in my life to check in with myself when it comes to me trying to embody perfection or trying to strive for perfection. Because the thing about perfection is it really doesn't exist, not naturally at least. And I think one of the best examples is nature. Um, it's not perfectly symmetrical. It's not, well, the thing is, it just is. You know what I mean? Nature, it just is. And we love it for that. Well, I'd hope that we all love it for that. Because there's so much to love about nature, and it's so beautiful, breathtaking. It doesn't have any beauty standards to uphold. But, like, why can't we also just be and feel like that's enough? Of course, society, and a lot of this really does link back to white supremacist standards of humans and how we have been so brainwashed through the years to accept that white supremacist beauty standards or standards of human value, or what you need to embody in order to have value according to white supremacy. Like, there's a lot of restriction within that, and a lot of lacking reality and nuance. And because perfection really doesn't exist, we want to believe that it's something that we can achieve for ourselves. It really doesn't, though. I feel like if perfection exists, it might be the clearest example I can think of, like actual perfection, would be like, well, that's the thing too. Like, even the people that we see as perfect, right? Maybe a celebrity, Angelina Jolie. She's like super hot, right? She's rich, she's famous. You think that she has it all, but I'm sure she has insecurities. I'm sure she doesn't see herself as perfect. So, like, why? And that's another thing too, is like, I would think that the people that love Angelina Jolie would love her for just being her. You know? That she doesn't really have to do anything to become validated or become more perfect or become, I don't know, some sort of finished project or something. Going back to the skin picking thing. So, pretty much I have been actively trying to overcome my skin picking habit, I guess. And it's just really frustrating because, like, I'm just very hyper conscious of how I look. And that's really the reason why I'm always wearing makeup in these videos on this channel and on the other channel, my Bees Intuition Tarot channel, if you're interested. It'll be linked in the description if you're interested. But oh, yeah, I think I hyper focus too much on my appearance. And I feel like kind of everybody does to an extent, or at least in this society. We tend to. And I think we put way too much pressure and too much pressure to live up to certain standards. And also, focusing on one's appearance really takes the enjoyment out of life, being in the present moment. And so, pretty much like with my skin picking condition, there's been a lot of times where, and this, yeah, I'm going to be so real in this video apparently, because I'm going to get real personal, but I've had moments where I've been afraid of going outside without makeup because I was afraid that as, you know, somebody that has skin picking issues and the after effects of skin picking, because it's so noticeable and typically associated with imperfection, like anybody with acne would understand that sort of struggle. um, Not living in or not existing within beauty standards and stuff of perfect skin and all of that. um, but yeah, there's been moments where I've been literally, and I don't know if afraid is quite the word to use, but I didn't want to go outside because I thought that my physical appearance was, and it's silly to kind of say it out loud, but it felt like my physical appearance would be in that pretty much other people wouldn't like it, that they wouldn't like to look at it, and so it shouldn't be there. And I applied this to myself. You know, like I am not a finished product yet. I am not, you know, I don't have clear skin, so therefore I should hide. And that I should also prevent myself from living my life, maybe. Or enjoying my life, honestly. And so, like, objectively, that's pretty sad, right? To feel like you are not enough to even at the bare minimum be perceived by other human beings who are also flawed, who are also imperfect. And I think a lot of this does also come from feminine ideals of beauty, because I do feel like, well, the thing is, like, masculine and feminine ideals of beauty, they are different. Like, I'm not here to say, like, oh, the other people have it so much easier or whatever. But rather just, um, there's different standards of beauty, of like what it takes to embody the ideal person, as a masculine or feminine person. And so I think a lot of it does come from being, um, like living a life as a woman according to society. And although physical characteristics and physical appearances, they do make an impact on the life, or they do make an impact on other people, and people do respond differently to various different people of, you know, on this spectrum of living up to the beauty standards. Like, everybody exists along that, you know? And I would say probably very few people ever get to that perfect zone. Um, but I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to focus so much on our external, to the point where I think there's even a generation that's starting to develop, which is slightly concerning. People that have been raised on looks maxing and stuff, it may be creating a generation of people who are solely concerned about aesthetics, that they never try to develop who they are or figure out who they are, what their true interests are, the things that they really want to do with their life. They're kind of skipping over all of that stuff, which is really important, I would say, to be a secure human being. And I just worry about that impact on the future generations, believing that external qualities, your ability to live up to certain beauty standards, that dictates your worth entirely. And that there's no value in being different. Um, but the thing is, variety is the spice of life, right? I believe that's a saying. Um, and all over the world, there are so many different beauty standards. And I find it so unfortunate that, especially America, during this time, it's so restrictive in terms of what we need to live up to in order to be perceived as valuable in any sort of way. Um, and I just find that like focusing solely on physical removes so much from the equation that is worth acknowledging or is worth exploring and stuff. So, growing up, I was teased for my appearance, for my odd personality, um, for being weird, for being different, for being not like everyone else. And I did feel a sense of ostracization, um, being ostracized, being separated, being othered by other people. And because of that, I actually had to develop my personality. I had to figure out who I was when I, because like, I needed to figure out who I was because at that point in my life, I was not, yeah, more or less, I wasn't interesting enough according to other people around me. Or it wasn't the right kind of interesting. I wasn't the right kind of beautiful. And it's kind of funny because, like, at this point in my life, I know that people typically find me attractive. And it's a little bit of like a mind fuck to an extent because it's just like, how do I go from being an ugly duckling to finally being a swan and feeling like I feel the same inside, but my external has changed and the world treats me so much differently, so differently from what it used to. But the thing is, like, I am of the belief, and I personally think that part of what makes me attractive is the fact that I am not like everyone else. And I know that's like, oh, I'm not like other girls. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But I am different. I have quirks. I have personality traits that are not like everyone else. I have interests that are not like everyone else. Like, there is a lot to me that is me, but it's me, and that's what makes it enough. Especially because all we ever have is ourselves, truly. The only person that we are going to have for the rest of our life is us. And so, this is why it's so important to become comfortable with who you are outside of beauty standards, outside of what other people want you to be or expect out of you, or what they considered to be, you know, worthy or valuable. Because I honestly think that a lot of the reason why people find me attractive nowadays, I don't think it is just the superficial. Some people might argue with that, but the thing is, I have so many parts to myself that don't align with societal standards of beauty. And especially as the standards keep getting more and more restrictive nowadays. Like, for instance, my nose. Um, I used to be very insecure about it. I used to think it was very unflattering, that it wasn't like everyone else's, that, I wish I had a cute little button nose and I wanted plastic surgery to fix it at one point in my life. But I've grown to love it because it's me. And it makes me me. And I was told at an early age that the nose gives your face character, recognition. That's like, when you see people getting plastic surgery on those beautiful noses, and then afterwards they look like a completely different person, like almost unrecognizable. It's so unfortunate, right? That we feel like we have to change and morph into who people want us to be, what we think people want to see. And I feel like it's so unfortunate because we should be okay with being in the present moment and being happy with who we are, being content with who we are, even if that is still, in our minds, an unfinished product, which is a whole nother way of dehumanizing yourself, which is another part of white supremacy, believe it or not. Because it's like those who do not, or those who fail to live up to the standards have no value, according to those white supremacist beliefs. But also, like, I'm overweight, like technically considered obese. Although I think I look pretty healthy for the most part. Sure, there's probably things I can improve on and all that, but overall, I just noticed that I have leg hair in a spot that I never realized I had leg hair before. That's kind of cute. Anyways. Oh, also, I do not shave. So that's a whole nother thing about me that is not in accordance with the beauty standards that people like me typically feel pressured to embody. And yet I still attract people. People still tend to gravitate towards me. And I think a lot of that has to do with my personality, my quirks, even physical characteristics that make me different. Um, and, you know, the kindness that I exude. I really try my best. Like, of course, I'm human, so I'm not perfect. I don't always, I'm not an angel like, hello, let me be perfect all the time. Like, no, I have my days like anyone. But I really do try to show up for other people in a way that is kind, compassionate, and receptive. And so there's just so much more that goes into attraction than just looks alone. And I feel like the younger generation is almost missing out on that. And we should be allowed to be who we are without feeling this intense pressure to conform. And we should feel lovable as ourselves. We should feel confident to embody who we are authentically, regardless of what that is or what it looks like. And now I'm thinking back again to after those skin picking episodes, maybe I want to go outside and enjoy the nice weather, but I don't want to put on a face of makeup. But the thing is, there's complications with skin picking too, where it's like the exposed spots. It's not good to like put things like sunscreen in them. So that's like another drawback, but also looking in the mirror and feeling like I'm too ugly to be perceived, that I am inherently unworthy as I am because I look a specific way. And then there's also the shame that comes along with skin picking, which is all like, I did this to myself. Why do I do this? Like, why can't I have self control? And I believe that, typically skin picking and other things like that are typically associated with OCD. So it's not as simple as just being like, one day, okay, I'm going to stop and it's over. I wish it was that simple. I think a lot of people that have skin picking disorder probably wish that it was that simple. But I really want to sort of make a pledge to myself, sort of like, being kinder to who I am now and being okay with being a work in progress, even though, like, again, that's dehumanizing. That's maybe a little bit of a problematic sort of perspective to have that can maybe cause issues. But who I am right here, right now is enough. And I want to embody that more for myself. And I want to live my life in a way that's not so restrictive. I want to live my life in a way that allows me to simply exist without being so concerned with my aesthetic, being so concerned with what other people are perceiving me as. Because I have so many things about me that are beautiful and interesting, and I deserve to go out on nice days with my skin looking a mess and still feeling valuable, still feeling worthy, still feeling like I am a human being that is worthy of respect and love and dignity. And so I want to, and I'm actually gonna, I think maybe that's the reason why Spirit called me to do this, is maybe this is like a pledge to myself that I can look back on. I really do want to try and make more effort to allow myself to be who I am, how I am, and not feel that pressure to conform and not to reduce my own value by criticizing myself or applying these beauty standards to every single time I look in the mirror. And a lot of my skin picking comes down to the idea of like texture and like spots and stuff. Like ultimately my intention behind skin picking is typically to achieve perfection. And it's so ironic because it does the opposite, obviously, and it can make your skin issues way worse. um, and it's really just a constant nasty cycle. um, so I want to like try and make a pledge to myself that I'm going to allow myself to go out on nice days regardless of if I'm wearing makeup or not this summer. That's going to be my one of my goals. And it's funny because even now I'm getting kind of anxious thinking about that. But then again, it's also this feeling of like, well, maybe once I get my skin looking clear, then I can go outside without makeup. But that's just going to restrict me so much and hold back so many opportunities for myself, experiences. And the thing is, I am inherently worthy as I am in my natural state. I'm also worthy in this state, of course. But I feel like sometimes it's very powerful to simply embrace your natural state. And I want to grow more comfortable with my natural state this summer, especially because I have a sweating condition, or I have a condition that causes a lot of sweating. And makeup is just really not practical when you're somebody that sweats a lot, especially on hot days. Um, but yeah, I don't know if any of this made sense, but that's okay. I feel like I was called to do this for a reason. And maybe it's simply just for me to look back on and kind of maybe hold myself accountable to this goal that I have for my summer, which is simply to exist as I am and not thinking too much about it. Not thinking about how other people are seeing me, if other people are judging me, if other people are criticizing me, but rather just like being in my body, being in the present moment, and enjoying life. That's what I want to do for myself this summer. Because I also think back to last summer and I really didn't allow myself to have a lot of fun. And that's another part of this summer that I'm trying to do is like loosen up a little bit, allow myself to have, you know, a day or whatever to kind of just, I guess, just exist, really. Um, and so maybe if anybody's watching this, um, I hope to maybe inspire you to maybe do something similar. Of course, you don't have to do the exact pledge that I'm doing to myself, um, or that I have for myself, but maybe you have certain goals that you would like to strive towards this summer, or maybe you have certain things in which you would like to correct the behavior or whatever. And yeah, maybe this will help inspire you to also have those kinds of things to either look forward to or to hold yourself accountable on. But yeah, I don't know why, but I just felt really called to do this. And so I did. I guess, the first step is the hardest, right? And yeah, I will look at this, edit it, and I hope it makes sense to upload to this channel. But yeah, from what I remember, I want to end these videos with some positive affirmations for you. So I want to go into that. And I want to say that you are beautiful, you are worthy, you are valuable. Your value does not simply depend on your appearance alone or what you can provide for other people. You are inherently worthy, you are inherently valuable. And being a human being means that you are worthy of respect, dignity, kindness, love, all of the things that you were told in life that you need to earn, you are already inherently worthy of. And I wish you so much luck and love and kindness. And I want you to know that you are loved by me and you're loved by Spirit as well. And you're never truly alone. And I'm proud of you for facing every single day with honestly any sort of drive whatsoever. It's so hard to keep going in this, especially in this day and age. But you do it, and I'm so proud of you for doing that. But yeah. Yeah. I wish you so much abundance. And I wish you nothing but joy, happiness, and good friends, good company, kind people, and people who understand you, who don't make you feel othered, who don't make you feel like you are wrong for simply existing the way that you are. So I love you, and um, I hope you know that. I hope you feel that. And I guess I will see you in the next episode. Because now that I've uploaded this, or hopefully I've uploaded this in the future, um, then I can do more in the future because I'm gaining that confidence, right? The first step is the hardest. Let's remember that. The first step is the hardest. And we just took that first step together. All right, that might be cheesy, but thank you so much for being here. I truly do love you, and Spirit truly loves you as well. And life is so much more beautiful than society wants you to believe it is. And magic can happen at the most unexpected of times. So believe in yourself, believe in magic, believe in the unseen. And I feel like things will start to align for you. Anywho, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Love you. Bye.